Today we'll build a D&D character using a Homebrew Ranger subclass inspired by Kamen Rider Snipe. I'll showcase how his powers translate to the subclass's features, from conjuring colorful power armor to cool form-changing weapons. But don't worry if you're not familiar with the show, cause I'll be presenting him in a setting-agnostic way. Cause in this video, I'll be giving you backstory ideas based on Snipe that might inspire your next D&D character. You'll also see the build go through its paces in an encounter against one boss monster and 6 minions solo. Welcome to My Wife Is, the MC, where we take pop culture to pen and paper. I'm V and I've been running and designing D&D Homebrew for over 10 years. Today's subclass is the Incursion Warden, a ranger option that specializes in neutralizing extra-planar threats inspired by Kamen Rider Snipe. He's a character from Kamen Rider Exade, a Japanese special effects show from 2016. It's a show that features a contagion born from the Y2K bug called the Bugster virus, and its effects on the infected would create these game-themed digital monsters. Not that digital monster. To combat this threat, the Ministry of Health established a special medical task force to treat the victims of the Bugster virus. And at the forefront of this task force are the Kamen Riders, doctors who channeled the virus itself to conjure armor and weapons that could eradicate the monsters and save the infected. And Hanaya Taiga was the first doctor with this power as Kamen Rider Snipe. Now, 5e veterans might think this is close to the Horizon Walker subclass from Xanathar's Guide. There's certainly some thematic overlap, but ultimately, this ranger's main appeal is its Kamen Rider roots. And that means conjuring awesome power armor and unique weaponry. So if that sounds appealing to you, well, are you comfy at the table? Let's head to the action cam and check out how the subclass works. Welcome to the action cam! Taiga has been called to intercept a Bugster outbreak in a busy street. The people have mostly evacuated the area, but a few civilians were left behind in the chaos. He needs to eliminate the threat quickly, but he can't leave these non-combatants to fend for themselves. For this encounter, Taiga will be a level 8 ranger taking the Incursion Warden subclass. His backstory started him off as a radiologist, but that's a bit too modern for 5e. But I did create a physician background from my Exade homebrew last year, which is close enough. Taiga typically doesn't operate with any allies, which means he'll need to survive on his own. So the healer feat from the physician background and the tough feat from human give him a lot of staying power. For his fighting style, he'll take 2-weapon fighting, which will interact with the Incursion Warden features in an interesting way. He'll also take the weapon masteries of hand crossbows and heavy crossbows. And to really lean into his name, he'll take Sharpshooter for his level 4 feat and Dex plus 2 at level 8. For his opposition, he'll face off against 6 regular Bugsters. To keep things simple, they'll take the Grimlock stat block. But the major threat on the field is the Revel Bugster. For this one, it'll take the Barb Devil stat block, flavoring its Hurl Flame ability as its main gun. And just for fun, we'll give him the ability to cast Greater Invisibility as an action. Now this encounter's complication comes in the form of 3 civilians scattered across the battlefield. Each of them has the Commoner stat block. Round 1. His displeasure is palpable, and technically he's no longer a licensed doctor. But Taiga still took an oath to save lives. If he can't save them all, then he's failed as both a doctor and a Kamen Rider. As part of rolling initiative, Taiga will use planar armaments. This is the Incursion Warden's core feature, allowing him to don magical equipment. This includes a magical weapon called the Incursion Suppressor, which can take the form of any weapon. Taiga chooses the form of a hand crossbow for his Incursion Suppressor, as the rest of his planar armaments magically form over him. He rolled pretty high on initiative, letting him go first, and see several civilians uncomfortably close to the Bugster foot soldiers. He'll need to eliminate the threats quickly and make himself the target. Taiga positions himself out in the open, opening fire on the Bugster right next to one of the civilians. Taiga hits the Bugster with an 18 to hit and dealing 7 piercing damage to the Bugster. The creature is badly damaged, but not out of the fight just yet. But the Grimlock stat block is a fiend type, and the Incursion Warden happens to hate extra-planar invaders. And this is where the Incursion Suppressor's anti-incursion energy property comes into play. This lets Wardens deal an extra 1d6 force damage to any creature that can be sensed by the Detect Evil and Good spell. The extra damage depletes the Bugster's HP to 0, giving one of the civilians some breathing room to flee. Taiga typically has one more attack as a level 8 ranger, but hand crossbows have the loading property. Luckily, his Incursion Suppressor has a Dimensional Bolts property, which magically conjures ammunition. Taiga fires upon another Bugster to rescue the second civilian. With an 11 to hit, Taiga deletes another Bugster with 16 piercing and force damage. That's 2 civilians with enough room to dash out of the combat zone. But one civilian is trapped between 2 Bugsters. If Taiga had another light weapon on him, he could have made another attack. Most warriors might have this trouble, but Incursion Wardens have another surprise up their sleeve. The quick draw property of their Incursion Suppressor lets them make that extra attack using the same weapon. Instead of taking aim at one of the Bugsters though, Taiga will instead aim at one of the nearby cars. He fires on the vehicle's fuel tank in the hopes of causing a small explosion to create some distance. Taiga fires a dimensional bolt right in the villain neck, causing just enough of a spark to ignite the gas. The resulting explosion dealt 10 fire damage to the Bugster on top of the car as it gets flung off and lands prone. Meanwhile, the burst caused the car to crash into the other Bugster, pushing it back and knocking it down. This luckily puts a barrier in front of the civilian, giving them room to flee. It was an incredible turn, and Taiga used the last of his speed to position himself between the Bugsters and the non-combatants. 4 Bugsters immediately converge on Taiga, seeing him as the biggest threat. One of them has to dash to close the distance, but the other 3 make their spear attacks. Taiga has an AC of 18 thanks to his planar armor and deflecting shroud from his level 7 feature. He nimbly parries and dodges an 11 and a 14 attack roll, but one Bugster manages to catch him unawares and nails him with a natural 20. Taiga is about to take 10 piercing damage and 7 psychic damage, but he still has one more ace up his sleeve called Energy Dispersal. This is a reaction ability that lets him reduce damage by 1d6 if the attacker is either marked or sensed by Detect Evil and Good. 2 of the non-combatants take this opportunity to flee, but one girl decides to give some payback. She hijacks the red vehicle she was hiding behind and books it, running over 2 Bugsters on her way out. The 2 Bugsters are flattened, as they take 7 bludgeoning damage from getting hit by a car. That's one major load off Taiga's back, as all the civilians are now safe. But he's still faced with 2 spear-wielding Bugsters and a gun-toting one named Revol. It moves to get a clear shot and aims down the sights of its gun arm, firing a flaming slug at the Kamen Rider. Taiga is blasted by a pair of flaming bolts with an 18 and 24 to hit. He doesn't have any reactions left, but by expending one use of Favored Enemy, he can still use Energy Dispersal without taking a reaction. Even with spreading the flames along his cape, he still took 33 fire damage. Round 2. Taiga is looking heavily damaged from that attack and needs to take cover. As a bonus action, he'll cast Hunter's Mark on Revol. As part of the same action, he'll change his Incursion Suppressor into a heavy crossbow. With expert motions, he takes a knee and fires at the 2 Bugsters right in front of him. Thanks to his sharpshooter feat, he doesn't have disadvantage on his attacks, planting both Bugsters on the ground. He then rushes to a nearby cafe and takes cover from Revol's coming assault. Revol sees this as an opportunity to ambush the Kamen Rider. As an action, he'll cast Greater Invisibility on himself and take a spot behind the nearby van. Round 3. Taiga was surprised at the lack of pursuit, but he doesn't want to risk a shootout while he's still hurting. He'll instead cast a level 2 Cure Wounds on himself. Taiga regained 20 HP, which was made higher thanks to his healer origin feat from the Physician background. This is turning into a tense standoff, but the Bugster is smart enough not to make the first move. Revol will instead take the ready action to shoot at Kamen Rider Snipe the moment he pops out. Round 4. Taiga exhales and rushes out the door, fully expecting to see Revol. But instead, he triggers the Bugster's readied action as the creature fires another flaming shot at Taiga. It was too late for Taiga to dodge, as he was struck by a flaming shot the moment he stepped out the door. His Energy Dispersal ability did little to reduce a critical hit, which scorched his armor for a total of 39 fire damage. Taiga quickly rushed back to the cafe and dropped prone behind the bar to take some cover. He couldn't see the Bugster fire that shot, so he figures that Revol had a means to turn invisible. As an action, he'll cast See Invisibility on himself using his Planar Watcher ability. This lets him cast certain divination spells without expending a spell slot or the need to concentrate on them. The Bugster laughs at the rider's predicament as he moves toward the cafe. Seeing Taiga prone behind the counter, he'll fire 2 flaming shots at him. The Bugster was surprised that Taiga was able to react fast enough in spite of his invisibility. Thanks to him being prone, being able to see Revol, and being behind total cover, Taiga managed to avoid another flaming shot that would have ended him. Round 5. It's time for Taiga to fight back, as he breaks out of cover and opens fire on Revol with his long rifle. Taiga rips through Revol with 2 attacks. Thanks to both anti-incursion energy and Hunter's Mark, he's dealing 2d6 on top of his weapon's damage per shot, for a total of 41 piercing and force damage. His mastery of the heavy crossbow form of his weapon also pushed the Bugster 20 feet away from him. Using the remainder of his movement, he moves further into the cafe staff room. The Bugster is pissed off at the sudden retaliation. With Taiga being clear of the cafe, he decides to give chase. But instead of going all the way into the building, Revol will instead ready another attack against Snipe. Round 6. Taiga goes around the corner of the cafe, but as soon as he peeks out, Revol opens fire. The shot hits the wall, missing with an 18 thanks to cover. Taiga then retaliates with his own shots. One shot lands square in the Bugster's chest, while another grazes its shoulder for a total of 23 force and piercing damage. And like last time, this gives Taiga some much needed distance from the Bugster. He'll stay in the corner this time, but goes prone to avoid Revol's flaming shots. The Bugster angrily moves closer, attacking Snipe in spite of the rider's defensible position. Through sheer luck, Revol managed to catch Taiga's shoulder with an explosive shot. Round 7. Taiga's vision is getting blurry, and he can tell that his planar armor is breaking from all this damage. Still, his duty as a Kamen Rider pushes him to finish this fight, as he breaks cover and fires 2 shots at Revol. Both shots land squarely in Revol's tin can of a head, but Taiga isn't done and uses Suppressing Burst as a bonus action. This lets him deal additional force damage as part of hitting a target with the Incursion Suppressor. With a charged bullet, Taiga fires a stream of energy that punches right through the Bugster's body, deleting the virus completely. All the civilians have been saved and the Bugsters have been eliminated. One question lingers, however. What caused this sudden outbreak of the Bugster virus? Animating that battle took a lot of work, so I hope you enjoyed it enough to leave a like. And if you want to support us further, we do have membership options that give you a bunch of cool perks like Discord access, shop discounts, and exclusive subclasses. So now that you've seen how it works in battle, will you actually like playing as an Incursion Warden? One of the major advantages of the Incursion Warden is being able to do a lot of small things in one turn. You can do stuff like shift weapons with the same action as Hunter's Mark, or use 2-weapon fighting with the same weapon. It's not meant to push damage boundaries too much, because it's meant to enable the fantasy of the lone agent against extra-planar invasions. And since this is a ranger option, it does have features that aid in exploration. The Planar Watcher feature in particular lets you cast Detect Evil and Good or Detect Magic at level 3. And like what you saw in the action cam, you can use this feature to cast See Invisibility at level 7. It doesn't cost a spell slot, and it doesn't get in the way of concentrating on other spells like Hunter's Mark, although it is balanced by a limited pool of uses. Now, mechanics aside, what kind of backstory would fit an Incursion Warden? Taiga's character arc is a good place to start. In the series, Taiga was the first doctor to fight against the Bugster threat as Kamen Rider Snipe. While he found some early success in fighting the Bugster virus, he would ultimately be overwhelmed. And his defeat caused a major outbreak that led to the demise of many innocent civilians. He's since become a bitter and cynical man, stripped of his medical license and powers. But he still stayed on the fight against the Bugster virus as an unlicensed doctor, trying to make amends for his failure by putting his life on the line. Those are the broad strokes of Snipe's story, but it ultimately lines up with the themes of protecting the realm from extra-planar threats. And you could certainly create Incursion Warden characters using familiar D&D elements, like a Genasi who was scouted by a conclave of watchers, protecting the prime material from elemental surges, or a Tiefling who actively hunts down fiendish contractors in an effort to stop the spread of infernal influences. But if you're a fan of the source material, I left a bit of extra that'll help you craft your character. The end of the document now shows how the Incursion Warden represents Taiga's abilities. And if you have my Exade campaign guide from last year, I also added a section that helps you mechanically integrate the Incursion Warden into an Exade themed campaign. You can find the Incursion Warden in the first link in the description. But if you want to check it out first, the page has a light version where you can try out the subclass up to level 7 completely free. If you really enjoy Exade or just Kamen Rider in general, I think you'll like the next video I have right here. But before you go, let's invite MC to honor the members of our Mallard community.
Hello! I'm MC, the Mallard Quinn, and I'm here to give a special shout out to these Mallard Royal Guards. William Cozart, Elderlight, Tommy Kamen Rider 88, Mr. Phantom, Gamer Gaming, Storm Starshine, Bryant LW, Coinop 1989, KV, Piku, and Cosplay Battle. Thank you all for making it this far. No, really, thank you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay on top of the next D&D homebrew that V cooks up. Until then, V and I hope you have a great day ahead.